Today is Monday, the 22nd of May. Happy Monday to you. Hope your weekend was well. Couple things. First, today, May 22nd, marks the 20th anniversary of my meeting Joan, my then girlfriend, now wife. 20 years ago today, we had breakfast together in an IHOP, the International House of Pancakes, on the campus of Arizona State University, a safe place to meet for breakfast. My safety girl. Anyway, that was 20 years ago today. Tomorrow is our 19th wedding anniversary. If you do the math on that, we met one day and married the next day 1 year later, 366 days later. Cray cray. Something else. Last night I was going through a couple boxes of stuff from my old desk that I haven't moved into my new desk yet, because it's only been about a year or so since I've done my desk maneuvering. I found an envelope full of photos that my aunt, my dad's younger sister, gave me at our Christmas party a year ago or so. I was going through the photos, and they're all of my dad in various states of age, from basically an infant to 2 years old to 5 years old, up through his college years when he was at Texas A&M. Well, back then it was AMC, A&M College, of course known as Texas A&M University, and a few pictures of him from Korea and so on and so forth. The opening video was reminiscent of our old family movies. One thing my dad was very good at was able to take time off from work. He and his business partner had their own architectural firm in Dallas for 50 some odd years. And one thing we were very fortunate to have growing up was the chance to go on vacation quite frequently, at least once a year, typically involved a long road trip somewhere to do something with a minor bit of historical value to it, which is always cool. My dad was very good about filming our trips and filming our vacations. Of course, this is on Super 8 or 8mm movie, and no matter what, we would always get a video or a movie that would start off with an up-the-nose shot. And it was always kind of funny for us to laugh at, and back then you had the cameras with the film. You'd have to put the film to the camera, wind it out of the little black box around the gears, and have it feed through the machine and have it being filmed. Some were actually hand cranked and others became battery. And that's kind of how you knew the hallmark of the old films. They had no audio to them, so it was just pictures. And secondly, there's always that up shot of my dad's nose, and he would often, fiddling with the camera, looking at it, and take off his glasses and put them in his mouth, and the whole thing. And I don't know, some odd reason I thought about doing it on the opening for this video, so that's what that little throwback was for. But one thing my dad was very good at, and something I picked up on a little bit with my own family, is visually telling a story about vacations or trips or things like that. And it's one thing that I really do cherish. I do have his Super 8 videos that were re-encoded to VHS and then re-encoded again to DVD. So we do have all of our old family videos that I would love to go through one time with Trump. My kids and I, we've watched a few of them here and there, but because there's no sound, I think one version they actually added in some background sounds to them, like you see in the old silent films. But it was there's no dialogue and no ambient sounds. For my parents' 40th, I think, I bought them a video camera. I saved up my money for a very long time. I was living on my own, working out of state, and saved up the $900 or $1,000 to buy them a video camera that they use. It was a VHS, the little cassette style types. It was one of those. They had like an hour worth of video on it, and my dad was just thrilled with that darn machine. And I flew them a few years later. I sent my mom and dad on a trip to England for 2 weeks for their, I think, 50th wedding anniversary, something like that. Maybe 55th. I can't remember how many years it was that they were married when I sent them on that trip. But anyway, he really enjoyed the camera and really enjoyed the video. All this to say that had my dad not passed away, and it'll be 7 years this November that we lost our dad, had he not passed away and had he been in better health, I really think, given the fact that he was kind of a ham, a little bit of a show-off, he would really get into YouTube. I'm not really sure if he would watch a lot of content, because some stuff out there is a little bit off there, and my dad was very old-fashioned, born in 1930, was very conservative and very reserved about what he did and watched. But I think he'd have a ball doing doing videos, making videos and doing little snippets like this about his life. My dad was also very well known to tell stories that may or may not have been factually accurate, but he was very convincing in the way he told his stories. Always fun to listen to his stories. My late uncle, and he's an uncle, Uncle Al, who my dad grew up with. Al, they grew up blocks apart, went through school together, started off in college together, but Al went to a different school than my dad. But they remained lifelong friends until my dad passed away. Then sadly, Uncle Al passed away a couple of years later. But Al and my dad, you get those two in the same room together, and the stories they would tell, you really didn't know when you left fact and strayed into the shallow into fiction before you knew it, you're deep into fiction. And then just as things got really weird, the story would turn back to being more realistic. So you really weren't quite sure at what point you jumped off the pier of reality into the sea of I don't know what. But I think those two, and if my cousin Lacey or whoever's watching this, I can only imagine my dad and Al with a YouTube channel. It would be an absolute smash sensation because those guys were just off the rails with their stories, and they fed on each other and they went back and forth. And just when you think it was as deep as it could get and crazy as it would get, they'd ramp it up. And when you get that water boiling and all that stuff put on there, it just got crazy and just funny. And we would go out to East Texas where my uncle and aunt lived, Al and his wife Jeannie, and we'd go out there. We would literally be up until, and this is when I was a young kid, I mean, we were up until midnight, which is like, whoa, hey, listen to stories. Not watching TV, not watching movies, not on the iPad, whatever. This is way before that stuff. It's like in the 70s and early 80s. But it was just magnificent the way those guys would tell stories and threads and yarns and stuff. And I think that would be it would just been a wonderful, wonderful YouTube channel for my dad and Al. If there is a heaven or another place that my dad and Al did end up, and if that place did have YouTube or something like YouTube, and if they do have a channel out there with content and this type of stuff, it has got to be golden. And I can only imagine. Anyway, just a stream of consciousness video for the day. All spun off from last night looking at a few pictures, and I thought I would start the video with the up to nose shot as a tribute to my dad, and other filmmakers from the 60s and 70s using those cartridge type cameras. So with that, I'm going to sign off. I will see you tomorrow, but stick around.